Hello and welcome along to this week's edition of Hong Kong Direct. Plenty to get through on the show today. Here's what's coming up on this edition of Hong Kong Direct, where we're going to continue our catch-up with Hong Kong-based horseman David Hall and what he's achieved in his time in this part of the world since coming over here in 2004. And we'll continue our build-up towards the BMW Hong Kong Derby. We're going to learn more about the regally bred Russian Emperor from the Douglas Whyte stable. But if you tuned into the show last week, we had part one of our special interview with David Hall, talking about his time in Australia, including training the magnificent mare Makybe Diva. This is part two of that interview, where we focus on how David came to Hong Kong and what he's achieved in his time here. So let's talk about the move then to Hong Kong. How did it come up, David?
I think probably through Silent Witness. You know, I purchased Silent Witness for David Price, and you know, he was always destined to come to Hong Kong. We had him in a Ballarat trial, and Paddy Payne rode him, and he won by 5 lengths with his head on his chest, and you know, it was Paddy's had to assess the horse to see if he was good enough for Hong Kong, and he never used to say too much, Paddy, and he come back in, he just said, "Oh, I think he's good enough." But yeah, so he came up here, and then Archie was kind enough to fly me up when he was in the international race, and it was all timing actually. The Melbourne Cup I'd won, Silent Witness was running in the international sprint, and another trainer in Melbourne said to me, he said, "Why don't you go to Hong Kong?" He said, "You don't have to achieve anything more here. You've done what you've needed to do. That's the place to be." And it was never really my dream to be a Hong Kong trainer, but you know, after coming up here, and then you know, I had an interview with the stewards while I was here, and it led to me applying, and I didn't actually get the job. Paul O'Sullivan got the job ahead of me, and so it was him and Armand Lee in that year. And then 6 weeks later, Ivan Allen decided to retire, and they called me up and they said, "Oh, sorry, you know, the position's open again. Would you be interested?" So after having the highs and lows of thinking I was coming and then being declined and then it opened again, you know, I thought about it and decided to come.
Tell us about coming to Hong Kong then. When you walk into your stable for the first time in 2004, what was that like?
It was interesting. I mean, you know, you're excited, but because of the situation, there was nothing left for me. You know, Paul and Armand had taken everything that was available and had been to around to all the owners and got all the new tickets and the new horses. So 3 trainers in 1 year is a pretty tough thing in Hong Kong. So I sort of had about 8 broken down horses that those 2 boys didn't want, and managed to put together about another 10. So I think I had something like 17 or 18 horses to kick off with. So it wasn't a big wow stable to walk into, but just the change and something different and the excitement of Hong Kong sort of gave you the energy to get on and try and make it work.
In saying that though, your first runner here was a winner, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, that was another sort of you know, pretty emotional sort of thing, because you know, you had left a hell of a lot behind with Makybe, and then you know, and I didn't have a lot to work with, so it wasn't as if we were pulling out some new 52 bullets PPGs or anything. He was an older horse, and you know, obviously, as we know now, the system here, they get down to the ratings, and if you can sort of get them fit and healthy, they've got a chance. And you know, he had a good gait, he had a good run, and he was able to get a win for me in my first runner, so that was certainly exciting.
Here's Euphoric Kid charging home on the rails. As her play in front, David Hall pulls it off. First up, Euphoric Kid.
That first season as well that you were here for was also the season where we saw Silent Witness make it 17 wins in a row. You mentioned before that you had him in Australia. Did you think when you had him that he would go on to do what he did here?
No, well look, we never got a chance to test him that much. I mean, our job down there when you're buying horses for David Price is to, you know, get them up to trial stage where you know, someone like Paddy Payne or Craig Williams will get on them for David Price. He can have a look at the videotapes of their trials and measure if they're just good enough to come here and get the job done. But he was one of those horses, a very laid back horse, and you could work him with a maiden and he would keep up. You work him with a Class 1 horse, he'd keep up. You work him on his own, he would just cruise around, a very relaxed horse. So he just had the right temperament. He definitely had the ability. But for me to sit here and say that he was going to be a 17 win in a row Grade 1 superstar, I certainly didn't know that at the time. I knew he was good, but I didn't know he was going to reach those levels.
And the horse here that you've had the greatest success with, Absolute Champion, had good form as a 2-year-old in Australia, but didn't start off with your stable. How did he join your team?
Yeah, I think he was just a bit of a wayward galloper, and you know, as I said, we'd sort of built the stable up a little bit, and we started to have a little bit of success, and then you know, this one came as a transfer, and yeah, we made a couple of changes to him. I think, you know, tinkered with his gear a little bit, and he wasn't a big, strong beast, and maybe he just needed a little bit of time to get used to Hong Kong, as a lot of horses do. But he was a brilliant horse, but he wasn't a strong horse, and he was a little bit more feminine, and he didn't need a hard workload. So we found the key to him, and you know, like his win in the international sprint, which made him the best sprinter in the world that year, is you know, something I'll never forget. It was a dominating performance.
But Absolute Champion exploded. Absolute Champion race clear. Silent Witness to second. Then Bourne's running on. Then the grey downtown. But it's Brett Prebble and David Hall in the sprint. Absolute Champion kills them.
When I came to Hong Kong, the horse you're having a bit of success with from a lower level was Bamboo Dance. To get him to win 6 in a row, I think you took him from rating of 18 to 61. Have there been horses like him or others that mightn't have hit Group 1 heights, but you've had success with that others couldn't, that you've got joy out of?
Yeah, Bamboo Dance was probably the main one. I mean, you know, he was with me and he left me and then he came back to me, so it was a bit of a funny story. And then, yeah, just to win 6 in a row, I mean, it doesn't happen very often. You know, I mean, I trained 5 winners here one day. Was another special day, and there's plenty of horses along the way that have been, you know, great for the stable. I mean, just recently, you know, Ho Ho Khan's been a cheap little purchase. It's been great fun. Little Giant's been great fun. You know, it's just we haven't had the Derby horse, and we probably haven't had too many opportunities to have those sort of, you know, big high-profile horses. And you know, hopefully we can still find some of the cheaper ones that make it to that race, and that's a race you'd like to be more involved in here. So one day, you know, I've still got a few years to go yet, so hopefully we can find that Derby horse.
So the reason why we're talking to you at this point in time is you're approaching your 500th winner here in Hong Kong at the time of recording. You've been here since 2004. That sort of number, how does that sit with you?
Yeah, well, I think everybody in Hong Kong just sort of gives you probably much the same answer. They're not well aware of the fact of where they sit with that, or until the press sort of tell them. You know, we all get out of bed every day and try and do the best we can, and if the winners keep coming, we're not sitting there counting them. We're just looking to get on to the next meeting, or to find the next one that's walking in the door that is going to bring us some more winners. But you know, 500, it always sounds good no matter what it is, whether it's you giving me 500, Edward, or 500 winners. 500 is a good number, I suppose.
You'd find mothballs in that wallet if you did try to get 500 off me.
They tell me that.
Your life as well outside of racing, David, has changed since you've come to Hong Kong. You're now married, you've got a son with your lovely wife, Germaine. Outside of racing, what is life like here for you in Hong Kong?
Yeah, well, I mean, Germaine obviously made my life much better, and I don't know if I've made her better, but she's definitely made me better. and then, yeah, the introduction of Hunter. Once again, I think that's better than the Melbourne Cup or the International Sprint.
What does the future hold then for David Hall?
Yeah, I love doing what I'm doing. You know, Hong Kong's a great place, exciting town. You know, I've got you know, a Hong Kong wife, and my son's here now. You know, we're not looking to go back home. You know, I can stay till I'm 65, and you know, as long as we're competitive, and you know, we're having a good season this year, and there's always the ups and downs. That's wherever you go in life, and whatever profession you're in. But we're making the most out of it, and I'm still enjoying it. And you know, I'm certainly missing not being able to have a holiday back home, and hopefully that changes soon. But Hong Kong's home for now, definitely.
Special thanks to David Hall for sharing his story and his time in racing with me. training's a pretty lucrative business here in Hong Kong, so I don't think that David should be holding his breath to get $500 off me anytime soon. Let's bring you up to speed too with his statistics here as a trainer in Hong Kong. He's very close to that 500th win. He's on 498 at the moment. A strike rate of over 8%. He's got 6 runners at Sha Tin on Saturday. Fast Most Furious in the Class 1 event, race number 2, looks to be his best chance. And let's hope that it's not too long before David does get that 500th win. We're going to take a quick break here on Hong Kong Direct, but don't go anywhere. We'll be talking all things Derby after this.